Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first podcast. I'm Buddy 1927, also known as Buddy, and this is my first podcast. I'm going to introduce myself so y'all get to know me. And during this podcast, I'm going to be talking about things I've done in my life, both gaming and also in real life. A couple of things I want you to know. I was not born in 1927. Buddy, 1927, my name. My nickname has always been my life, Buddy. Since I was born, my nickname has been Buddy. My real name is Robert, and I'm Junior, and so I became Robert Junior. My father's nickname was Bob, and his parents called him Bobby. And my grandfather wanted me to be named after him. Um, and my mother wanted me to be named after her favorite uncle, which his nickname was Bud. Well, my grandfather was named Kenneth, but his nickname was Bud. So that's how it became Buddy. Um, so both sides of the family, when I was born, feel that I'm part of their in the naming. I was born in the mid '60s. Yes, I know I'm old. Um, but to get back to it, that's how I got Buddy. And the 1927 comes from 35 years I was a firefighter, paramedic, and rescue worker, both paid and volunteer. But my last fire department ID was 1927. So that's where I get 1927 from. So it's Buddy 1927. I grew up I grew up being poor. My father was a minister. Um, so I was a preacher's kid. Preachers really don't make that much money unless you're big and famous and you have your own TV series and all that. Most ministers don't make much money. My mother was a nurse, so I grew up. Nurses back then didn't make much money. Nurses nowadays make a pretty good chunk of change, but back back when I was growing up, nurses didn't make much more money at all. So we didn't always had the things all my friends had. So, and I'm also a redhead, so I got picked on a lot when I was growing up. But there's one thing that I would never change: that childhood. I learned a lot in that childhood. I was learned that I was loved and that there was a lot of struggle. And you got to struggle in this life to actually be persistent, to carry on, to get up in the morning, put your boots on, and go to work. So, a lot of things I learned early in my life. At the age of 12, I started working on a dairy farm part time. I still went to school full time, but I worked at a dairy farm until I was 16. Then I started working in retail, in the retail stores when I was 16. They didn't want to get up at 5 o'clock every morning to go to work. But I enjoyed working on the farm. As a matter of fact, even after I never didn't stop at 16. I stopped around age 19 working on the farm. But I didn't work like I did before. I just helped out more than a regular farm hand. I worked on a dairy farm, and cows can be very messy. I'm telling you that right now. They can. I cleaned up behind them. Trust me, I know. Uh, I enjoyed working on the farm. I worked in a retail store called Woolworth, FW Woolworth, and I kind of enjoyed it. Had a lot of friends. I did a lot of things I could do. And I became a firefighter and paramedic, and eventually I became a rescue worker. But I've always done gaming. When I was 12, working on a dairy farm, I saved up enough money. Um, PCs, you didn't have PCs. You had computer components. You had a little box that had your data disk. You had another little computer box that translated everything. And if you wanted to connect it to the internet, you had this thing called a phone coupler, which is basically you take your house phone and you couple it to this device, and it'll make all these weird noises, all these noises, and connect you to the internet. And the internet wasn't like it was then. Um, in the late '70s is when I got on to the internet. Um, you had to, you had to you had to find a internet provider, which you still do, but it was different back then. CompuServe, which was the main provider of internet in the United States. I was CompuServe's 354th customer. And back then, it was just information that you could find. And there was a couple games. There was a couple games, but they were all word-based games, word and turn-based game. You did not. What is the word I'm thinking of? Yeah, you did not have. Um, you didn't play against other people. You play against the computer. It was word-based, and you typed in what you wanted to do, and it would do that. But there was a lot of information online that you could find. Not much. Oh, yeah, not as much as you can now. But there was a lot of information back then that allowed you to do a lot of stuff online, which I actually learned a lot online. My father, before he became a minister, back in the late when he married my mother, he wasn't a minister. He was a Marine Corps DI, and got out of the Marine Corps because my mother did not want to move around because her father, my grandfather, was a career Army person, and she didn't like that life because she didn't want to move around. So they married. He worked for a Ford Motor Company down in New Jersey. Then he got a took took this got into computer programming and worked for RCA Computers before he became a minister. So he knew how DOS worked. As a matter of fact, he wrote DOS for a lot of companies. He worked DOS programs for a lot of companies. So he knew how DOS worked. So he taught me how to because everything was DOS based. These computers were based on DOS. So you had to type in commands and stuff like that to actually work these computers. So he taught me a lot of DOS. I've actually found, I went to a bookstore and found a book, and I think it was one of the first series of books for dummies. I found DOS for Dummies, and I read a lot of that, and I learned a lot about DOS, how to compute, stuff like that. As I went along, computers started back in the 80s. You started getting PC computers, personal computers, and I learned how they were built. Um, and when I moved to Virginia, I moved to Virginia Beach. I worked at I I was working for Norfolk Fire Department, but there was a thing called bulletin boards that you could actually join and play. Well, it was community. It was community. You can chat with people on the bulletin board, and you can also play games. And this is where your first multiplayer games, where you can actually play multiplayer games. One of the games I played was Doom. So I did Doom. I played Doom, and I played with friends online. And one of my friends on the bulletin board lived in Virginia Beach, and he ran a computer store. So he taught me, I had to pay for it, but he taught me how to build a personal computer. And one weekend I went to his house. I went to his shop, and we decided to build me that he was going to teach me how to build a computer that I can build my own personal computer. And of course I wanted the best. I wanted the most bus at the whole 9 yards. I wanted everything that I could possibly have on that thing, and I did. It was expensive, as expensive as the new computers. I think it cost me $1,000, and I built it myself. These are all the components I bought. Those are the components I bought. I built it myself. He showed me what to do. And, for a couple of weekends I hung out at his shop, and he showed me how to, because he built computers for people, and he showed me how to build the computers. And then one weekend, boom, it was my turn to build a computer, but for me, with the money I wanted. So we built the computer, and I built it. It was nice, and I finally got my own computer. And I was reading some information on how to make wads for Doom. Now, wads was would be now mods. They were called wads. That's what they were called. So I made wads. I made maps for Moon, for Doom, not Moon, but for Doom. So I made maps for Doom, and I uploaded them to the bulletin board for the people on the bulletin board to play. And I, I did this for a year. I had like over, I had over, I actually, I look back, I had over 500 wads. I had 500 different maps, because wads, you could only build them so big. So I built one, and I was working 20. And when I worked 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 24 off, 24 on. Then you were off for 4 days. So I had a lot of time on my hand. I did work part time for Virginia Beach Rescue as a paramedic and a rescue worker, and as a lifeguard. Virginia Beach Rescue back then also um, did lifeguard duties for the city of Virginia Beach. So I was also a lifeguard and stuff like that. It was interesting. But when I wasn't working, I either was playing Doom online with my friends, and if they weren't online, I was making wads. Somehow, ID, who was the publisher of Doom, or the developer of Doom, excuse me, the developer of Doom, got a hold of a couple of the wads that I did, and they liked what I did, and they were making a CD. They were making CDs, a CD series, and they liked what I did, so they asked me to send um, wads I had. They would look at them, and they would pay me for the wads that they will use in the CD. And I went ahead, sent them all the wads I had, like over 500 at the time, and they decided to. They liked 250 of them, so they made their own CD out of it. As one, they had like a five CD disc series, and that was just one of the discs. Was my 250 wads, which I loved, and I got paid. Got paid about 500 bucks, which isn't much, but that's how I started working. I ended up working part time for ID. They also made a game called Quake, and at that time they were in the development stage, and they needed what they called beta testers. So I became a beta tester for ID for Quake, and basically what a beta tester does is what early access is now. There's two. There's a development stage of the game. Then there's what they call an alpha stage, which is the core game done, but there's a lot of bugs, and you got to find the bugs and fix the bugs. You play the game, find the bug, fix it, clean up as much bugs as you can. And once you clean up enough bugs, then there's another stage called beta. Beta stage is the polishing of the game. Um, there's bugs still in it, but you fix those bugs, and anything that they want to add to the game is where they do it in this stage before they do the final release. So once you do a beta of a game, when you're in a beta stage of a game, it's fixing bugs. You have people that just play it, and you get them to give you ideas, which I had ideas for ID, and I did that. I gave them some ideas for the game, and they took some of it. Um, they didn't do exactly. Some of the stuff they did exactly what I suggested. Some of the stuff they did it in their own way, but the same premise was still done. And that's basically what you did. Basically, what I did, I would be online, play the game online, and I would log into their server and play the game, and I would get paid for the hours I played the game. And once a week, depending on and it would depend on my schedule because there's times I couldn't do it. I would have a conversation, have a tele, I would have a conversation either with the game developer, an editor, or a publisher of the game, and we would go over what I found, what my overall appearance of the game, and they would take these. There was about 10 of us, and which is what really got me. There's only 10 people working on Quake as a beta tester, and I was one of the 10. And they choose me. I didn't even. They asked me to be a beta tester, and I said yeah. And back then I was about $8 an hour, which was excellent supplemental income back then. This is the '90s, and I did a lot of work. I played a lot of games, like Command and Conquer, and I grew up, and I just continued playing games. I worked Blizzard, who made Warcraft. I was a beta tester for Warcraft. Blizzard asked me to become a beta tester, so I did the beta testing for Warcraft, Blizzard, and did the game and all that. And things went on, went pretty good. Then Blizzard asked me to become an alpha beta tester for World of Warcraft. When the game was first coming out, it was before the game even came out, and it was a lot different than what it finally ended up being. And games change a lot, and if you ever played any early access, you notice that games change a lot. But that's being at the peak of my career with Blizzard. I was making $15 an hour, and this is the 2000s. So I was making good. Hell, I was averaging 40, 60 hours a week working for them. So I was making good money. I get anything over 40 hours was time and a half. So I was making a good chunk of change, and I enjoyed it. I was actually making more money working for them than I was working for. I was working for. When I was working for Blizzard. I was working for Palm Beach County Fire Department. Then I ended up moving to. No, I'm sorry. I was working for Wayne County EMS and volunteering as a firefighter. So I was making a lot more money than I was working for them, and I did. I enjoyed it. But then the game, and I eventually just got bored with the game. I got bored doing it, because I enjoyed playing the game. I mean, the game got released. I played it, and I joined a guild. And I became a pally tank. I was the number one pally tank on every server I ever played on as a tank. I joined a guild, and I was the tank for the guild as I grew, as I went along, and did it. Played the game. I had a lot of insight. I knew what they were planning on doing. So when a new expansion came out, I already knew the secrets of it. And eventually, I think my Lynch King was when I finally stopped playing. I got bored with the game. I stopped playing. I stopped beta testing. I just got bored with it. Um, and I didn't agree with some of the other stuff that they were doing with the game, the changes that they were making with the game. I think they were pandering to the people that were saying that the game wasn't fair. You had to learn how to play the game. You had to learn how you had to build a character. Now you don't. You had to get certain gear, and certain this, that, and the other thing. And one time, me and me and this me and the guild, we had 20 members. We wanted to do the safety dance dungeon, and you needed 20 people. You needed people to heal you. You needed people to do this. And we had like 5 healers. We had one good healer, four very bad healers, and we had some. I was the tank, and the good healer kept me healed, and we were fighting this. We were doing this dance about when it turned into the second stage. Um, Everybody got wiped except for me and the healer. It took us 20 minutes to beat the boss of the dungeon, but I sold the boss with the healer. All he did is kept me healed, and I also healed myself too. As Pally, I could do that, so I healed myself on some of the stuff, and it took us 20 minutes. I wish I videotaped it, but we played. We did that. We did excellent. The healer did an excellent job, and none of the guild members believed that we defeated the boss. I mean, they all died, but they got the rewards and got the completion of the dungeon. And that dungeon was at it was when it first came out, and it was the hardest dungeon at that time, World of Warcraft, and we beat it, or I beat it. But I got bored with the game. And they changed things, and I didn't agree with the changes that they decided to do. So I went on my merry way. Stopped beta testing. I still play games. I play, as a matter of fact, I started playing World of Tanks, and I did a lot of videos. If you take a look, that's when I started this YouTube channel. I was in a clan, which was made up of members from our World of Warcraft guild. Start Some of us split off. We had like over 150 people in this guild, and about 50 of us decided to play World of Warcraft. Not World of Tanks, not World of Tanks, and we started this little clan and called the Brotherhood. I think it was Brotherhood NAFTA. Brotherhood of Coin was the guild that I belonged to in the World of Warcraft. Well, I started. I played. I played in a lot of guilds. I played in a couple of guilds. Two was the Cleric Guild, the Kelk Guild, not the Cleric Guild, the Kelk Guild. Being Irish descent, I had played in the Kelk, being Irish. Um, but I also played in another guild called the Brotherhood of the Coin. Well, the members of the Brotherhood of the Coin, some of us decided to start playing that, and we played in a clan called NAFTA. And I learned the game, I played it, and I started making videos of it. And that's how I started making YouTube videos. Well, actually, it wasn't for YouTube at first. I did videos for the fire department. I took for the volunteer fire department I was on. I made videos and uploaded them to a network called Egg. It was bought out by YouTube, and I started learning how to do videos and stuff like that for the fire department. And I learned how to record video game footage of videos, and I started making YouTube videos of my World Tank videos for my clan of the tanks. We did training, so I made videos of the training sessions that we did, so that we could new clan members or other clan members can watch the video and learn what we decided the training session. I also did things on the tanks, what and descriptions of the tank, the benefit of the tank, non-benefit of the tanks and stuff like that. So I did video of each tank that I played and description of it and what is it good for, stuff like that. That's how I started my YouTube career. And I was in that clan for quite a while. I enjoyed playing it. And I got injured in the line of duty. I injured my back. I mean, I didn't. I, I was partnered with YouTube. All you had back then, all you had to do to be partnered with YouTube is have 200 subscribers. You didn't have to have X amount of watch time and stuff like that. And I had a little over 200. No, I had 300. I had a little over 300 members, subscribers. I was making 35 cents a month. So I wasn't making any money on the YouTube channel, but I was enjoying playing the video. I was known in the forums of World of Tank at that time. A lot of people knew me. There would be times where I would play a battle, and a lot of people see me on there, and they'd be like, "Hey, buddy's here." So I was semi-popular. I wasn't popular, but I was semi-popular. But I became injured, and still played while I was injured. I was trying, and the doctor told me I couldn't work no more. Couldn't step on an ambulance. I couldn't step on a fire truck. Workman's comp bought me out, gave me, and it took 7 years to actually. It took several years. Once my workman's comp stopped, they bought me out. At the end of, I was living on. I was applying for disability. I was living off what money I had. I had to cash in my retirement so I can live. And it took so long. It took so long for me to get my disability. I went through all my money. Retirement, I had cash in to live off of. Everything gone. And I had moved in with my mother. But no, I before then I had to stop. I had to cut back on expenses. So cut back on cable. So I went from cable to antenna TV, and it got to the point where I can no longer afford internet, and I try to stay as long as possible to live at home on my own two feet. So internet stopped, so I could no longer play World of Tanks. Um, couldn't stop making videos, stopped everything, and I fell into. I ended up moving in with my mother. I fell into a deep depression, and for 2 years I didn't even touch a computer. I had my computer, didn't even touch it. I would get online from time to time to check my email, um, but I really didn't do anything. So I fell into such a deep depression. Luckily, the state of North Carolina, I live in North Carolina, but the state of North Carolina had this program for people that had mental problems. And I did. I had mental problems. I was having nightmares of bad calls because for 35 years, all the bad calls I buried. Because when I first started, that's what my chief told me to do. That's what my grandfather, who was a when he retired, he retired from the military. He still worked a full time job. He volunteered or was an on call firefighter for Concord Fire Department up in Massachusetts. And that's what he told me to do: is just give back all this, bury it, just put it somewhere deep down inside and forget about it. Well, once I stopped being busy, making videos, keeping my mind active, all those calls that I buried deep down inside came out, and I've seen some terrible things, and I've seen stuff that I do not wish on my worst enemy, and I became suicidal. So North Carolina had this program where they would give free psychological help. So I started seeing psychiatrists and therapists, and I'm better now. I still see psychiatrists and therapists. Probably will do it until the day I die. But things got better. But one of the things during a therapy session, I was still in deep depression. All I did was wake up, watch TV. I mean, I had, I still wasn't on disability, still trying to get my disability, still being denied. And one of the things, it just got worse and worse. So during one of my therapy sessions, she asked me, "What do you like to do?" I said, "I like saving lives. I like helping people." Well, you can't do that no more. You gotta realize that. I said, "What did you like to do when you weren't saving lives?" And I told them about I gamed and I made videos, and they decided to make. They decided to let me. We decided, well, maybe if we get back into gaming and making gaming videos, you can keep busy, keep your mind working, give you a purpose to wake up in the morning, things to do. Now, throughout my career, I'm a workaholic. I averaged between 80 to 100 hours a week, not in addition to volunteering as a firefighter and also as a paramedic. So I worked over 100 hours a week, and then suddenly stopped working. It hurt me hard. So I had the YouTube channel. Still was getting some views, not much, but was still getting some views. Lost a lot of people because I wasn't making videos no more. I hadn't made videos in years. So I started the channel up. I can't remember my first video now that I started on. But I started playing games again, and I started recording games. I tried World of Tanks. Tried to get back into World of Tanks, and I just didn't like the game no more. I went from a shooting game, and basically World of Warcraft is a shooting game, Doom was a shooting game, Quake is a more adventure slash shooting game. Um, World of Tanks is a shooting game with people shooting a strategy game. And I played a lot of strategy games, but I just could not get back into the shooting game. So I started getting into simulation games, and I do some survival games. and I do some strategy games, and I started recording them, and I built up my I actually built up my channel. But back now, I wasn't partnered. Lost my partnership, um, and to become a partner, at first was it was, but now it's you have to have 1,000 subscribers and you have to have 4,000 hours of watch time to become partner with YouTube. I'm like, okay, I can do this. So I slowly built up. I think I started with 256 members, subscribers, 256 subscribers to the channel, and started slowly building that up. I tried Twitch. I think I ended up with 33 subscribers, whatever they're called. I never really got into Twitch. Um, I did do a lot of live streaming on Twitch. I did do that, and when YouTube YouTube live streams got a lot better, I stopped Twitch and just concentrated on YouTube because my goal is to grow this channel and to get off of disability. I want to be on my own 2 feet, living on my own 2 feet, and not having to worry about a government paycheck. And that's my goal, plain and simple. But this channel has been growing. But during the time I was growing this channel, I fell down the stairs. And for a year, it took me, I shattered my leg. And a year later, no, about 10 months later, they had to amputate the leg. And that was on July 2nd of 2021. So I was going to therapy. I was concentrating on that, and I kept my spirits up. I lost a leg, lost the ability to walk. But I learned how to walk on my own 2 feet with a prosthetic. But I kept on making videos, and from the community themselves, I got a lot of support. Uh, pe- People encouraging me to continue on with my life, keep making the videos. Um, Life isn't that bad, and I kept on making these videos. I Year to the day I lost my leg on July 2nd, 2022. I've already had my I had like over 6,000 hours of watch time. So I met that requirement on July 2nd, 2022. I gained my 1,000th subscriber. So the year I lost my leg was the year. And and what was funny was I did a live stream. And it was on a live stream I did it. And I did an anniversary of losing my leg live stream. And I gained a subscriber. I had 999. And I had, except like I had 990 for years, except it felt like forever. And when I started the live stream, I had 999. And I started the live stream and I got my 1,000 subscribers, which made me eligible for the partnership with YouTube, which was wonderful. It celebrated the anniversary of losing my leg, but it also celebrated a new life for me. I'm now making money with YouTube. Now, one of the things I will tell you right now, if you are thinking of starting a YouTube channel to just make money and not have to work a day in your life, well, I will tell you this right now. Don't. I make Right now, I average probably $1.20 a day. That's it. That's how much money I make a day. $1.20. And you divide it by the time I put into recording a video, editing the video, preparing for playing the game, preparing for the video. One video, I averaged at that when I first started. I was it would take me 16 hours to do one video. Okay, and now I'm down to probably it takes me a day, 8 hours. From the time I get up in the morning, record, figure out what I'm going to record, setting up the recording in the video in the game itself, edit, record the video, and you'd be surprised how many takes I take. So then whittle down everything from that video down into an edit, and then from there upload the video. It takes me about 8 hours one day. I was doing a video a day. Then I started doing shorts, doing two short, doing a short a day, two videos a day, and I'm only making $1.25 a video. You divide that by 8, $1.25. That's not much money. That's not much money at all per video, per hour I make. So channel's still growing, but that's it. So that's a brief history of my life. Um, this podcast is also going to be for questions, and I will answer your questions, your comments, and stuff like that down below in the following video, in the following podcast. If you like this podcast, let me know. If you got comments about this podcast, let me know. Let me know what you think about this comment, what you would like to see in this video, in this podcast series. Podcasts are new to me. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I'm going to try it, see how it does. I want to see. I got lots of stories I can tell. And it's not going to be just about gaming. It's going to be about how to overcome what life throws at you. And I'm going to tell you that right now. I've learned in I'm 58 years old. So in my 58 years, I've learned how to overcome a lot of things, a lot of hard things, a lot of things that people would have given up on. But I've gone on. So I will go over that and share my life with you all and how I overcame the things I've overcome in this life. Give you a little word of wisdom, basically. Um, Sometimes you gotta learn from the elders, and sometimes you gotta learn from the younger ones too. But you learn life from other people, and maybe you all might learn something from me. So that's what I hope this podcast will do. So I'm just gonna say this: you all be safe out there in the world. Have fun playing your games, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye bye.